Welcome everybody to the second session in today's panel. My name is Nicole Randall. I am the Litigation Support Manager at Porter Wright Morrison Arthur. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes? No? I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everybody to the second session in today's program. We have put together a very experienced and knowledgeable panel to help guide us through the challenge of managing small to mid-sized clients and matters. Today's panelists include Rich Cohen, who is the Executive Vice President of Legal Services for Renew Data, Gail Apsey, who is the President of Apsey Legal Technology, Nate Latessa, Vice President of Technology at Adventus Technologies, and Sue Kaiser, Practice Support Manager at Jones Day. This session will provide insight into how litigation support professionals quickly and affordably process electronic data for smaller cases. A lot of these cases simply do not have the money involved or the cost involved to allow for large electronic discovery bills. The panel will discuss four main topics: electronic discovery consulting with clients prior to the litigation, before there is even an issue or a matter at stake; electronic discovery planning sessions; identifying and narrowing the scope of collection; and products designed for smaller e-discovery matters. With that, we're going to start with our first topic, which is electronic discovery consulting with clients prior to litigation. We're going to discuss the benefits of providing these consulting services and what topics should be discussed. Rich?
Thank you very much, Nicole. It's a pleasure to be here. This is a topic that is growing frequently. You hear this from clients all the time. We have this tremendous challenge. We have no money. The court wants all this information. We have no resources. Are they kidding? We can't give them all that stuff. I don't got people on staff who are going to be able to do this. What are we supposed to do? And they look to you and they say, figure it out. Well, the one thing that you'll learn is the best thing to do is prepare. Prepare and practice. Define what success looks like in the beginning and work backwards. Sit down with your clients before there is a problem or a challenge. Say to them they need to be prepared. They need to figure out how they're going to respond to the challenges that are presented by them in this very important area. The excuse that they don't have money to do the job used to work in courts. Today, courts are looking at the reduced expenses associated with getting data that may be hidden on tapes or in email systems, wherever they may reside. Courts are less willing to say, okay, you don't have to do it, it costs too much money, because the costs are coming down. The other thing that you need to factor into this, if you're dealing with a small and mid-sized client, the emotion associated with the matter that they're dealing with. If you're in a large firm or a large corporation, a small or mid-sized matter is something which you may deal with. It's not the company litigation for them. But if you're dealing with the small and mid-sized company, and they have a matter, no matter how big that matter, it's their matter. It's the most important thing on their mind. It's what keeps them lying awake at night. And it takes, in a large part, a lot more time for you to explain to them the process, because in many instances they're not as sophisticated. So my mantra in this topic is prepare, practice, get a team in place, and get ready for what inevitably will occur. Gail, maybe you have something to add on this.
Hello. Yes. From either, if you're advising a corporate client or if you're in a corporate law department, some of the things that I think are proactive in terms of preparing for litigation, anticipated litigation, is to make sure that your records retention policy is up to date and includes the electronic record. Ensure that there are data maps in your IT department so that when it's time to go collect data, you know where it is at. And make sure that there is an assessment and audit process in place and that it's being pursued. So again, that you can ensure if a legal hold is in place, you are implementing it, or if it's not, you are actively following your records retention policy.
I agree with both of those things too. The one thing I wanted to add to that is just understanding your network in general. Going into a couple clients that we've worked with, just trying to figure out where the data is. I mean, you can take a small matter that can end up being very complex quickly without understanding exactly what you have and where it is. Data is replicated off-site sometimes, it's backed up on tape, it's retained for months, and a lot of that knowledge just isn't generally available to the entire IT staff. So understanding where your data is and what you have, I think, is one of the most important things. And to make sure that a small matter doesn't turn into something that's much more expensive quickly.
And I'd like to say one thing from the onset. Jones Day does handle small and mid-sized cases. A lot of people think that's not true, but darn it, it is true. There's always those cases. And you know what, let me see a show of hands. Who thinks a small case is maybe 150,000 or less? Okay, who thinks a small case is $500,000 or less? Who thinks a small case is over $1 million? Okay, bigger than that, huh? See, if you would have asked that question 5 years ago, they would have said, if it's worth over $100,000, that's a small case. Small cases today average $5 million. That's what the bottom line, that's what companies are going after. That's considered small. Now, that's the value of the case. When you're talking about all the stuff that you want to collect and all the things that you have to do in order to win your case, how much are you willing to spend? And that's the bottom line question. It's not only what the case is worth, but what you're willing to spend to get it. And there's only one word I have to say to that. Prepare. Be prepared in every aspect of what you need to do. Because if you know what your network is comprised of, if you know who your key custodians are, if you know what you need to do up front, you will save money every step of the way. And that's the most important part, I think, of the jobs that we all do in litigation support, is to help the attorneys identify what it is that needs to get done and when it needs to get done in order to save that money. And I can't tell you how many times I have seen attorneys say, well, let's just take this course for now. This is the fast, easy way to do it, and this is the cheapest that I've seen so far. And then you get down that path, and all of a sudden you realize, hoo-hoo, the woods are awful close. We need to turn back, and we need to go in another direction. And you end up spending 2 and sometimes 3 times as much as you normally would. So I'll end here, and we'll start at the other end again. But remember that word, plan.
That's great advice there. One of the things that you'll sometimes find with the smaller client is they don't appreciate the seriousness of the rules associated with the matter. They say, well, if I could wipe this off my hard drive, this one document, nobody would know that it existed. They don't understand. And it's our obligation to advise them as to what the consequences are, no matter how big the case is, no matter how small the case is. For example, there's adverse inferences that could be as a result of not following the procedures and not having preparation in place. So when something is missed, you don't have a story to tell the court. You know, I don't know how many of you have just recently seen this case that was filed against Toyota. Have you seen that case? By show of hands, anybody seen that case with Toyota? It's a huge case, just filed. Toyota's lawyers are being accused of intentionally destroying evidence that was resident on hard drives, which had an impact upon their defense in a case associated with a safety issue with Toyotas. Now cases that have settled are being reopened. In addition to those cases being reopened, a RICO case, a racketeering case, has been filed in Texas against Toyota. We have to let our clients know the consequences of cutting corners. We would not be doing our jobs if we didn't do that. Now, anytime